Welcome to the Best by the Worst. The best movies of all time, reviewed by the worst possible critics. If you don't believe us, keep listening to find out. Boy. Welcome back to the Barrett podcast.
You son of a bitch.
2 weeks in a row, I've got you.
Oh, is that right? Just you wait for my spin-off podcast.
What's that going to be called?
It's the same exact podcast, except I've replaced you.
Well, you know how we had votes for that recently? Actually got a response that some people wanted you replaced.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I see. Ooh.
Oh, what is... All right,
God,
what are we drinking? Rocky
smell
Ridge.
that.
It's just a flesh wound. Red IPA, 7%.
Ooh.
Hamish. Not a sponsor.
Hamish. Where'd you Hamish from that?
Rocky Ridge.
Oh, Hamish. Yes.
Say the
Not a
line.
sponsor, but could be.
Could be. Are you feeling all right?
I was looking at the can. I was thinking, the design. It's reminding me of Elden Ring.
We're not.
It almost spoiled the podcast. I was almost going to just be like, no more podcast. I'm stuck in the DLC. I'll see you in a week.
Right.
What did we watch this week, Barrett?
How green was my valley? And we don't know how green it was because the movie was in black and white.
You stole my joke. Son of a gun. My first comment was, it would have been great in colour because, the first opening scenes of the movie with these big, panoramic shots of the environment, and it's like this hilly countryside in Wales somewhere. And I thought, wow, this would look really cool if it was in colour. And it was not.
And now
I want to try this first.
Now I've had a taste of what colour is like.
Yeah, it's hard to go back, isn't
It's
it?
hard to go back.
Oh, delish.
All right.
So this one was a little bit of a snooze fest. Let's just get that out the way.
Yes.
You can probably tell by our lethargic start that it almost put us to sleep.
Yes.
I guess a fair bit happens. Look, it's just a funny old movie. I still feel like it was probably 20 minutes to 25 minutes too long. It was just over 2 hours, but you really felt those 2 hours. You really felt them.
The last 30 minutes were like pure agony.
Yeah, and it actually started pretty good.
Yeah.
So, do you want to do your little quick snapshot of what the movie was?
Yeah. I'll introduce the movie. Let's follow the normal thing and you can start talking about the movie. So you're excited.
I'm cold.
Don't start. The heaters are on in this house every day because we have solar and it keeps the house at a nice temperature. Alex walks in, too hot in here, turn the heater off at like 3, probably about 10 past 3, and now we're freezing.
Yes. So the sooner we get through this, the sooner we can go to the pub where it's warm.
Get a palmy and a pint, $20.
What a bargain.
What a bargain. Anyways, 1941, winner of Best Picture, How Green Was My Valley. The movie had a budget of $800,000.
Oh, yeah?
Which is $17 million today.
Sorry, I'm just trying to think where that money went. Anyway, we'll get to that.
Oh, I know where the money went, and it's one of my facts.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Everyone is dead.
Wow.
2020.
Fair enough. Even the baby?
Ooh. I couldn't find a credit for the baby.
Yeah, fair enough.
Some of the actors weren't linked in Wikipedia, which is painful, so I had to copy and paste them into Google and manually search for them.
Look, safe to say the baby's probably dead, unfortunately.
All right.
Not the dog, though. The pup from the start, they live forever.
Yes, dogs do live forever, as you've told us. The plot it originated from a book, but it's family life and the issues they faced working and living in a mining town.
There was a book, was there? I didn't see that. Okay, so it was a book first.
Was a book first.
Right, yeah. So look, it basically just covers the Morgan family, who are they're Welsh, right? The Welsh family. Mm-hmm. Welsh family in Wales that's connected to a coal mine, so it's a small mining town, and it just follows specifically the Morgan family over the course of what felt like a few years, maybe a bit longer. It doesn't really tell you. Watching the movie, though, it felt like a lifetime, and maybe that's what they were going for.
Yes. Yeah.
So to set the scene, 1941. What I didn't pick up, though, is what year was the movie set in?
No idea.
Yeah, right. Probably should have checked that.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, so
we would
1941.
have researched that if we were good critics, but we are the worst critics.
Yeah, plus we were just so happy to see the movie end.
Ironically, we had plenty of time to look up what year the movie was set in.
That's true. That's true. You can probably already tell that we didn't think a lot of this movie. But actually, I'm just going to say before we, get to the end, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. It's just it's a bit of a snooze fest. But 1941, facts setting the scene.
Yes.
So look, we're really really into World War II at this point. So I really actually try to find some facts that weren't about World War II because it's really just old World War II.
Yeah.
And I managed to find a couple, which was nice.
Perfect.
Yeah, thought you'd like that. But I'm going to get the World War II ones out of the way first.
Cool.
So, Pearl Harbor happens. Whoopsie.
Oh, I have been there. That is a crazy place to go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it all like restored now, or they keep anything from when it was blown up?
Yeah, there's the... Oh, now I'm going to seem like a wanker because I don't remember the name of the boat. There's a memorial. There's a memorial.
Plane, you'd remember it.
There's a memorial out in Pearl Harbor that you can go and it's this big cement thing that you go out and stand on, and you can look down and see.
Huh.
Oh, I can't remember the name of the ship, but one of the ships that was sunk, and a lot of people died on it.
Sad.
And I went on the Missouri. Do you want to hear a funny Missouri story?
It's a ship, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you need to know anything about the ship for it to be fun?
Absolutely not.
All right, hit me.
So I'm standing on this ship. It's like a World War II ship. It's tied up in Pearl Harbor, and you can go on it. It's like a tourist attraction.
Okay, yeah.
Right? I'm standing there. They've got a section on the deck cordoned off with ropes all around it.
Yeah.
And it's where the declaration was signed to end World War II by the president or the king of Japan. What did they have?
Well, not to end World War II, but to end the battle between the Japs and America. Is that?
Yeah, well, that was the end, right? Because the Germans had already surrendered by that point.
Right. Yeah, the Japan was still fighting.
Japanese were still fighting, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, so it was the final thing. And I'm standing there looking at this spot on the deck going, it's really odd that they brought, what did he have? Maybe it was an emperor or the president of Japan. They brought him all the way to Pearl Harbor to sign this declaration. It didn't click in my head that it was a ship, and the ship was in Japan. Now everyone knows that story.
Yeah, well done. Yep, that's how ships work. Again, if it was a plane, you'd be there.
Yeah.
You would have figured it all out really quick.
Yeah. Apparently people watch our podcast, and when I can't remember things, they get infuriated. I was told the other day by someone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, while we're watching Mutiny on the Bounty, I was trying to remember something, and one of our friend's dads was like, "It's this, you idiot!"
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
I get a few people attacking me for intentionally leaving out their contribution, like Josh, and I do that intentionally to infuriate him, and I enjoy it. I'm going to continue doing it.
All right, sorry, I've completely derailed your facts.
Yeah.
So.
No, it was related. So World War II facts, we'll get them out the way. So Croatia becomes a fascist German puppet state. I just wanted to really highlight that for no particular reason, just to make sure that the facts are presented accurately. Croatia were the puppet state.
Okay.
Invasion of Yugoslavia. So that happened. Germans came in because the rest of Yugoslavia wasn't a puppet state. Germany invades the Soviet Union. That happened too.
Oh, that is a spicy part of World War II because
Yes.
the Russians were a German ally until the point that Hitler turned around and goes, "I can't get any further this way, so I'm going to go back."
No, they weren't
that way."
allies.
Well, they weren't allies, but they weren't.
So when Stalin tried to create a pact between Britain and France to repel the incoming invasion in the start of World War II, and they told him to fuck off. So then Stalin made a non-aggression pact with Nazi Germany so that he wouldn't attack them, and which enabled him to then attack, neighboring countries I think it was Norway and the Scandinavian countries, kind of like Soviet Union-esque type move.
Yeah.
But he was not aligned with Germany. Let's make that very clear.
They were frenemies.
There was a non-aggression pact like many countries had with Germany that didn't stand the test of time. They probably took longer to sign than they did to get completely disregarded. So, that happened. And fun fact, not fun fact, but Ozfact, that Australia declares war on Japan and the Axis powers in this year.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Australia's joining the party.
Now, World War II stuff's out the way. Some things that aren't about World War II.
Perfect. I'm excited.
So, Captain America first created that comic book character.
Ah,
Yeah, and I couldn't help but I didn't see this, and it could be
less
completely.
banging.
Oh, sorry. It could also be completely fake news, but I thought, well, maybe they created that Captain America comic book character to highlight the American image and to be an American hero as they were getting involved in World War II.
Well, that's
Maybe
how it's
something to do
portrayed
with
in the movies.
So it lines up. I'm thinking, oh, was this just to keep pushing that idealistic
Uncle
go to
Sam.
war, it's good, look at our comic book hero kind of messaging? Maybe. Don't know. Completely making that up, but it seems to line up. Also, first injection of penicillin into a patient by a British physician happened. So penicillin's now a thing.
Cool.
Yeah, it stood out to me because I am allergic to penicillin.
Ah,
But to others, it's good and not. So, yes. And I really came across this one by chance. You're going to love this. Just want to make sure it's my last one. Yeah. So, in this year, really relevant to our podcast, the Academy copyrights the Oscar statuette. The Academy Awards, the statue?
Yeah.
They copyrighted that image.
we're lucky we only have a similar image in all our artwork,
Yeah.
not the image.
Well, yeah. So, those are my fun facts.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you have an Australian fact?
That was my one. Australia declares war on Japan.
Oh, yeah. Yep. You usually call out your Australian fact at the end, and
Yeah, I just tried to get the World War II stuff out the way.
yeah.
Yeah, I did see something else about Australia, but it was less interesting. I'm trying to remember it now. It's gone.
All right.
Oh, that's what it was. So, for some reason, I couldn't really find the reason for it, but so John Curtin is the Prime Minister at this point, and they met with all the cricket people for whatever reason, and they decided not to have any test matches interstate, because of World War II.
Right.
Didn't really understand how World War II stopped them from, traveling interstate to have these test matches or something, but that was a thing.
Well, there was some pretty big concerns that the war was going to come to Australia.
Yeah, why would that stop the matches though?
Don't know.
Anyway,
Large group of people in one place. Easy to bomb? I don't know.
yeah, but it didn't stop the matches themselves. It just you couldn't travel into. Anyway, crappier fact.
They should have played over teams.
Or just taken one of your silly little planes.
What?
Okay, this is going to be a quicker podcast. If anyone's feeling like we haven't touched on the movie and think this is going to drag out to 2 hours, it's really not. There's not a lot in the movie that we won't explain very quickly.
All right. The names in the movie. I'm not even going to begin to try. If you want to have a go, you can.
I'm really not for the most part.
All of my notes refer to them as like sons, boy, mother,
Yeah, the
father.
Morgan family is the main one. We can just highlight there, and we can say the dad of the Morgan family, or the sons, or the daughters and sisters.
So I didn't actually count. I think there was, I'm going to say 5 sons.
Felt about right.
5 sons.
Yeah.
4 of them I will refer to as the sons. The 5th I'll refer to as the boy.
Yes,
Yep.
and that's important because one of the main characters is the younger son, who's only a child compared to the other sons who are a fair bit older, and there's narration going on from the start of the movie. So the movie's kind of told from his perspective.
Yes. So we'll call him the boy. There's a mother, a father, and a daughter as well.
Yes.
So the opening scenes of the movie is the father and boy walking around the mining town, being narrated, like you said. And you called it out. Some great shots.
Yeah, really cool shots of the countryside and all that. Looked sick. But if this is in colour, it would be awesome. And probably just touching on the names as well. The reason the names are so difficult is, those original, like authentic Welsh, Irish kind of names, and it just, you look at it and you're thinking, how the hell do you pronounce that? And it turns out it's just, the Irish way of saying, Rachel, and it's just spelt in like 12 different characters. It's that reason. So it's just so hard.
Yeah. Do you want to know? I'll weave my first fact in here. Why they spent so much money?
Yeah. What?
So they wanted to shoot the movie in Wales
yeah.
because that would make sense.
Yeah.
Because that's where it's set. But unfortunately, due to World War II, they couldn't do that.
Oh, so where did they film it?
They filmed it in the Santa Monica Mountains, just near Malibu. all right, on an 80-acre property and had to build all of the mountains, set everything.
They built the mountains, did they?
Well, I presume they pushed the mountains up. I don't know.
Oh, okay, so they didn't do it. Fair enough. So you couldn't really tell because it kind of looked like a, Welsh countryside.
Well, I guess
so they
there's
did a good
probably
job.
mountains already there, hence the Santa Monica Mountains.
So then I'm guessing they had to, that coal
Landscaping.
mine that they had there in the town, they had to kind of like build the set for that. That would have been
They
expensive.
built all of that.
Oh, right. Well, that's where the money went because that was a pretty impressive set. I actually kind of thought maybe they were using an existing or older coal mine or something as maybe the backdrop for it, but maybe not.
Yeah. So they're all coming home from a hard day's work. They're cleaning themselves. So they're all coal miners. They come home dirty. They're cleaning themselves. There's a great scene here I want to call out, and I'll probably drop a clip in of it. Well, is it the dad? I think it's the dad. He's sitting in a bathtub outside and he's
he is.
scrubbing himself, and his wife comes and tips a bucket of water over his head to help wash him, but he's smoking a pipe at the same time, and all the water goes down his pipe.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if this was supposed to be a comedy, but some parts were pretty funny.
Yeah, they're trying to mix a lot of, little genres together. They're just trying to focus on following the family, which, like any family would have funny parts, sad parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. They're trying to wash the dirty coal off, and just made me think, God, how much it would suck to work in like an old school back in the day coal mine.
Yeah.
Hard work.
And they do say most of the coal comes off, but some doesn't.
Well, it certainly doesn't come off their lungs, that's for sure.
Right. Moving right along. So we're just seeing that family life portrayed. They're eating dinner together. You were quite offended that the meat looked dry.
They have like a big chunk of roast beef. It appears to be the only thing they eat every night. It just, compared to like a well-smoked brisket, it just looked unacceptable.
We really are hipster wankers.
Well, exactly. We
Yeah.
hit 30 and we decided we're going to smoke meat, make podcasts, and, worry about our lawn.
Well, I'm dead. Anyways,
More dead than your MVN.
please don't bring up the NBN again. So the next scene, a girl named Bronwyn arrives. And
Yeah, one of the
she
names we can pronounce.
is stunning.
Well, not as stunning as the other girl, the daughter, the actual daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a young daughter, by the way. Like a 20-year-old daughter.
Oh, at least.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure we didn't come across too creepy there. And then Bronwyn, there's this weird scene that happens then when Bronwyn sitting there and lined up. The 4 older sons are lined up in front of her. And then, next scene, she's married to one of them.
The other funny scene that would happen just before that as well is kind of what happens is, so everyone gets, all the sons and the dad, they all get paid, and it all sits in this little jar that sits on the mantle. So and the narration over the top is saying there's no banks around, so all the money they get paid, it seems like either each week or each day, whatever it is, from before they leave work from the little kiosk thing, the guy just hands them their money, and then they put it in this mantle, and that's where they store it all. It's just out there in the open in the living room. But then maybe it's once a week, I think it's once a week, the dad will get the jar, all the sons and the daughter and the wife, they all wait there, and he opens up the jar and then is giving out little bits for their allowance and how much money's theirs, and they all share it, right? And they've got the notion of, like they're not really saving any money. It's just divvying it out what they've got each week because they don't believe in, saving money. It's there to be spent. That's like the Morgan family motto kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this ritual where he just opens up this money jar and hands out the money for the week, and they're all waiting. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. There's also another point that happens pretty much. So we see the wedding, and straight after that is another point I want to talk about, which is they're singing this game or singing along to this game while standing on a line trying to do like a sobriety test.
Oh, yeah.
And you immediately were like, we need to play that game.
Yeah, he did not pass.
No. But yes,
Yeah.
we should need to work out what that game is and try it, but it involved standing on one foot, and he had
Yeah, snippet that when you're doing the editing.
one hand on his head or something.
Yeah, and it was just, it was funny.
Yeah.
It was good. They love their drink. But yeah, so what happened after? Oh, so they, go on, keep going.
The wages are cut.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So the coal price has fallen. There's cheaper labor coming in from other places that want to work in the mine.
There was a steel mill or something nearby that closed. There's a bit of a downturn happening. So then there's all this excess labor that are willing to work for far less, which then the mining company takes advantage of and says, well, we're going to pay our guys less. That's it, just a notice on a board saying, you're now getting paid less because we can.
Yeah.
So the sons are enraged, and the dad's, because he's gone to find that information, he's got that information, he's told the family that, this is why they're doing it. Well, originally, said that it's only a few shillings, and he's trying to calm the sons down. The sons are like, no, this is why they're doing it, because they're douchebags. And they're not having it. And so the dad's trying to be the calm one, saying, look, just overlook it, let's get back to work. And the sons are having none of it.
Yeah, no. And they, long story short, strike breaks out.
Yeah, they decide, this is when we need to unionize. I'm like, well, yeah, of course it is. So they unionize, and then it ends up being like a 22-week strike.
Yes.
Right? And in that time, it goes into winter as well. So it's kind of like skipping through the 22 weeks, saying how they're striking for getting their money back and in better conditions. Rah, rah, rah. The dad who didn't want the union, didn't want the strike, he's kind of been what's the word? He's become a bit of a martyr in all this, because the rest of the town, all the people that want the strike and the union, and they've been persevering for 22 weeks. They're looking at him as a bit of a scab because he didn't want the strike and union in the first place. So he's been marginalised. They're kind of throwing rocks through his window. They're targeting him a bit because he's not working with them, right?
Yeah.
And maybe he's still even working at the mine, because even if there's a 22-week strike, it's not to say that other people aren't working there. Like any strike, there's a portion that that keep the place running. And I imagine he's still working there, right?
Yeah.
So he's like looked at as a scab.
Yeah. And the wife, or the mother, decides to go and speak up for him, takes the son up to the top of the mountain. I don't know, they're all protesting somewhere. Speaks up for him, slams them all for, he's done nothing to you kind of scenario. Mm-hmm. Why are you being like this towards him? All of that.
I have come up here to tell you what I think of you all, because you're talking against my husband. You're a lot of cowards to go against him. He was nothing against you, and he never has, and you know it well.
Leaves, and they both fall in a river on the way home.
Yeah, so the mum and the younger son, falls.
The mum and the boy.
The boy, the younger son. I'm going to say younger son probably, but the youngest son or the boy and the mum, they fall in this like frozen river, and they call out, and they eventually get pulled out and rescued. And the mum, they're both cooked, so the mum seems to be less cooked, but the boy, he's really unwell when he gets back in the house, and apparently his legs don't work. Not funny. I'm kidding.
Wow, really made me worried for a moment. Then, I don't entirely understand what was going on. I'll take this brief pause just to throw a couple of other things in. I don't know if this frustrated you, and I probably noticed it most about this point. That's why I took the note here. The mixed accents.
Yeah, they threw me off a little bit.
So
I was supposed to be Welsh. I can't think of anyone that actually sounded Welsh.
Yeah, there was definitely some. I don't know. What's that? What's the corner of Europe up above England?
Well, Britain.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so some people had accents probably somewhere from that area, and then it would like cut from them to like American, then back to like,
Most of the main characters appear to not be Welsh at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it Western? Western European? Is that a
Depends
term?
where you're standing.
North, south, east, west doesn't change, mate. It doesn't matter where you're standing. Actually, no, it does. I'm wrong. This is why it's so funny. All right, another fact. Do you know this is one of Clint Eastwood's favorite movies?
Really?
Yeah. Don't ask me how that happened.
How did you find that out?
Oh, man. Went on an adventure. I couldn't find much about this movie.
I wonder why he liked it so much.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely not like his movies, as far as I can, recall. Anyway, well, there you go.
Yeah. So, the mum and the son, or the mum and the boy, bedridden for the moment. They're communicating by tapping through the floor. They're on like different levels of the house.
Yeah, they've got little walking sticks and
Yeah.
they're just nudging it. But yeah.
The mum starts to do better, and the village comes to see her.
Yeah.
Oh, we missed a point.
Maybe. So the point should be making. So
Hang on.
she eventually comes good. The son still isn't good, and they're trying to motivate him to, hey, you'll walk again, all that kind of stuff. And you're right, they do come to see the wife and maybe even the dad. Like they've mended bridges, right? So the mine's opening up again.
Yeah.
And there's no more bad blood between the rest of the town and that family.
Yeah. So, but a key bit that happens at that point is all of her sons come back home,
Yes.
which we forgot to mention during the strike process.
Yes.
All of the sons, like the father wasn't
falling
having
out.
any
Yeah.
wasn't having a bar of it, and essentially kicked them all out of the
Yeah,
house.
they went somewhere else for a bit and came back. But as soon as that happened and the mum was okay and the mine reopens, the mine's reopened. But the caveat there is there's less positions for all the reasons we mentioned before. And two of the sons end up losing their jobs.
Oh no, later. One son loses his job at this point.
Was it only one or two at that point?
One at this point.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
one son loses their job.
Yeah.
And that son, yeah, you're right. Sorry. And that son decides to go to America.
Almost.
What do you mean? He goes to America.
Well, which I've got here a note that says a letter arrives and he is summoned to sing for the king/queen at Windsor Castle.
What happened after, mate?
I'm literally.
I'm telling you, because the mine reopens, and then that son's like, well, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to go to America.
So one son must have gone to America. One son has gone to sing for.
Or that request happened after he told the family he was going to America. One of those two things. Clearly, we weren't paying that much attention, but 1,000% he said he was going to America. And I'm pretty sure you never see him again, so
Yeah,
I think
all
he's
right.
gone to America.
All right, he's removed. So what are we down to? 2 sons and a boy and a daughter.
No, there's still... How many more sons? Fuck, there's a lot of sons.
Doesn't matter.
No, there's still 3 more adult sons and 1 boy. Yeah.
All right.
And at this point as well, we should mention, because I think this happened before, that one of those sons is obviously married that other girl, and they're together. There's not too much more to say about that, except that she's obviously around the house a lot. I don't think she lives there, but she becomes a bit of a prominent character because she's married to one of the sons. She's the blonde one.
Bronwyn.
Bronwyn, yeah.
Yeah.
Did we mention that?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think she's too integral to the story,
No,
really, but
absolutely
she's
not.
there, right? She's in the house a lot.
She's credited as one of the main actors in
Yeah.
the movie, but anyways, there's a scene then. They go up the top of a mountain somewhere. Well, in America, because that's where it was filmed.
Yeah, exactly.
And then all of a sudden, the son can walk. The boy,
Yeah, he
the boy
walks
can
again.
walk
Fucking
again.
miracle.
Yeah. The mine owner then comes to visit and says that his son wants to call on the dad's daughter, essentially.
Yeah.
But the daughter is in love with someone else, and we find out that is
Well, we saw glimmers of this, but we didn't actually mention it. We probably should have. That the preacher of the town, he and the daughter, they definitely like each other, and she's been really putting the hard work and really trying to get him to notice her. We know they like each other, and she definitely likes him. But before that can actually turn into anything, that's when the mine owner comes in and says, "No, marry my son." And long story short, the preacher and her finally kind of, admit the fact they like each other. But the preacher says, "Look, I'm poor. I can't provide for you. This is a better decision for you. I'm making you do this." And she's not very happy with that. They kiss. They, do all that. But then they decide, no, this is the best decision. So she then marries the son, and the preacher
correct.
goes on.
There is a great moment at the end of that wedding scene where the mine owner's son and the daughter are walking out of the church, and in the background, I don't know if you noticed this, you can see the preacher. And he's just sort of like a tiny little figure in the back, and he's kind of just watching, and then he just sort of wanders off.
Again, would have been
into
great
the
in colour.
trees. It would have been great in colour.
And 4K.
Yeah.
And HDR.
This is probably one of my favourite parts of the movie that happens next.
Yeah, it just suddenly entirely focuses on the boy.
Yeah, the boy.
Yep.
And he goes to school, And he's
hang on, he doesn't just go to school. So he's recovered and appears to be smarter than the rest of the town folk, and they've actually sent him to a fancy school.
yes,
Right.
He's the first in their family to go to school.
Yeah. Was it just the school? I think it was a fancy school, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Anyway, he's going to school, which appeared to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Go on.
He immediately gets bullied, gets into a fight.
Yeah.
He gets his ass handed to him.
Yeah, this bully breaks his little pencil box.
What have we here? Pencil box. Pretty too.
Hey, you broke my pencil box!
Yeah. So he gets home covered in bruises, cuts, like you know,
Really smashed.
the
He threw
works.
The first punch, though. I'll give him that.
Yeah. Anyways, his dad offers to pay him to fight.
Yes, every time you get a black eye, I'll give you this much. Every time you get a broken nose, I'll give you this much. Try and like motivate him to become a better fighter.
Yeah, and then he sends for a village person to come to the house.
He gets his sons to go collect this guy who's like a renowned boxer.
Yeah, and he gets him to teach his son how to box.
Yeah. And then he goes back to school, starts getting other fights.
Yeah.
With the old fashioned, maneuver.
Yeah,
I love the old fashioned.
The elbows are low.
Yeah.
Yeah, fisticuffs.
But he's doing well, right? But the teacher, it just seems like a dick right from the start. Yeah, bends him over and whips his back with his big whipping stick.
For fighting.
Yeah, for fighting, and comes back and like it's a really, really bad whooping that he got. So much so that he gets touched in the back as a hug by one of the brothers, I think.
Yeah.
And basically collapse in pain, and they have a look at his back, and they make a comment. He's been whipped down to the bone, like a really bad cuts on his back. And the brothers are not happy, and they're like, "We're going to go sort this teacher out."
Yeah, but the boy says no.
Yeah, no. It's like, I was punished for breaking the rules, trying to be a man, right? And they're like, "Oh, young brother is turning into a man."
Yeah, but what do the brothers do?
Well, the brothers don't do anything.
Oh, hang on. No, it's not the brothers, is it?
No, so the guy that taught him how to box, this random guy, and his buddy, just two Welsh yobbos, they go to the school and they beat up the teacher in front of the students. Yock him good.
Knock him for 6.
I thought he was dead. Like they cut to the scene where he's like on the ground because he's been punched in the face, and his eyes like still open but rolled in the back of his head. And I thought, did they just kill this guy? But they didn't.
Yeah. All right. Anyone that's listening along at this point is probably like, what are you guys on about? This is sporadic and jumping all over the place, and that's the movie.
Yeah, it was, definitely, because it really focused on all these other people, and then, again, because it's really told from the perspective of the son, then all of a sudden just focused on the son and some of his journey. And I guess, they're trying to set the scene that, okay, the mind's back open, this other stuff's happened, but now we're focusing on the boy.
Yes.
Should we probably...
Ooh.
Oh, no, keep going.
So the next thing that happens is there's a whistle blowing, there's all of this stuff going on and on and on, and we find out one of the sons has been killed in the mine.
Yeah. So pretty cool, knowing that they built this set, but this, coal mine that you can see next to the town in the distance, you go up there and they've got like a full little elevator set up that, they used to have where it's, few platforms and that kind of just goes up and you can collect a few people at a time. And there's been this big accident and the dad comes up with the dead son, one of the son that was married to Bronwyn.
Ooh, was it?
Yep.
Ah.
Yeah, she's a widow after that.
That makes sense why the boy moves in with Bronwyn. It's my next point.
Well, hang on, you're just really going to confuse everyone there. So I'm going to cut ahead a little bit, but this part will make sense based on what Barrett just said. So that son dies that was married to Bronwyn.
Yeah.
They did have a baby as well, so now Bronwyn's left with the baby. It's all very sad for a bit. Now, later in the movie, the younger son, the boy, who's still a boy, moves in with her so that she's got a sense of purpose because she's lonely, essentially. And the boy as well at the start was very smitten by Bronwyn.
Oh, he was infatuated with her.
It was, right? So, he was happy to do that and kind of live there so that she could put out clothes and, cook for him to give her a sense of purpose. And, he just wanted to be around her. But she was obviously now a widow with that baby.
Yes.
And that's kind of the end of the Bronwyn story.
Makes a hell of a lot more sense why he then starts working in the mine to provide for the family of his dead brother.
Yeah, I think that was part of it. I think also, you really just cut again. We'll just take a second. So the son's doing really well in school, and at this point where that son dies, everyone's all in mourning, and there's a scene there where the dad's trying to talk to the son about, hey, do you want to become a lawyer? Do you want to become a doctor?
Yes, I did see that. I
Really
lost
pushing
interest
for that.
by this point.
Yeah,
but-
it could really, you could do whatever you want. But the son, no, I want to work in the mine. And the dad's not happy about that. But ultimately, it's the boy's choice. The boy decides to work in the mine. And I think a lot of that's to do with, maybe to provide additional income for the household. I think as well, it was more just him, being part of that family where everyone worked in the mine. That's what you do, right? So you get that. And I get that. I, was born and raised in a mining town as well. Like, the trajectory is you go and work in that mine, right?
Yes.
Because that's what the town does. That's what your family does. That's what your dad did. That's what you do,
Yeah.
I think he really wanted to follow in the footsteps of his father and his brothers. And that's why he wanted to do that, despite the fact he had the potential to do a lot more.
Yes, yeah. You might need to carry me through the next section as well, because maybe I got this wrong. I maybe wasn't paying super close attention. But they're each going through, so they're all working in the mine. They're each going to collect their pays, and as the older sons or go through to get paid, they all get told that they've been put off, they've lost their jobs.
Yep.
I think it was because they were being paid too much money, and the mine could find cheaper labor.
Yeah. So they actually said that they were the two best workers, but they're too expensive. So that was it. So they leave as well, to America, I think. Following a similar path or somewhere else.
All over the place, because the boy's drawing on the map and they're like down to New Zealand. I think they said they were in Cape Town or something.
They leave the town and go on a merry way. Good on them.
Yeah.
And then so it's really just the dad and now the youngest boy who work in the mine. The rest of the sons have now left, and obviously one is dead.
And the mother refuses to believe that the sons have left the house.
Yeah, she liked when everyone obviously was together. I get that, when everyone was under one roof, good vibes. But not anymore. So now it's just the dad and the youngest boy.
Yeah. There is a scene, you stepped out for a moment here, but the boy goes to visit his sister and tells his sister that dad is essentially broken, right? And then he says this really moving sentence, just like you, because sort of showing that the sister looks like she's broken as well, because she's in a marriage that she doesn't want to be in.
Yeah, she doesn't like that guy, and that actually becomes really the next few scenes, and it's kind of boring. I'm going to make it real quick. So basically, she doesn't like that guy and is thinking of divorce, or at least wants it, which is real taboo for that time. Seems to be particularly for that area. And all the women, all the townsfolk start talking about the fact that, they've picked up that she's not happy and that she potentially wants a divorce. They're all gossiping behind her back, which really paints her and the preacher in a bad light, because the preacher's done nothing.
He's done nothing wrong. Yeah.
But they turn against him. So he's actually going to leave the town as a result of this gossip, and calls them all to the church on, chapel on Sunday, whenever it is. And because he's kind of calling out of town to say, hey, you've already, all this gossip, you've decided my fate and what I've done or haven't done. Like, who's going to call me out now? Like, really,
he goes on
running all of them.
He goes on a massive rant.
Yeah. And they all just stay quiet.
Yep. Yeah. So we get through the rant scene. Then once again, the whistle's blowing. Something's happened at the mine. Yeah.
Big heckin' whistle.
And I thought you were going to correct me. I thought you were going to come and say, nope, you missed something again.
No, but I was hoping that you'd put in a sound effect. Make the sound whistle. Make the whistle.
Insert sound here.
There.
So that whistle's actually pretty annoying. But
especially if you live next to it.
They're talking about the mine's collapsed. I don't really know, because
the explosion.
There's been a cave in, and then the next minute there's an explosion at the top of the mine shaft.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
the mine's on fire. It's exploded. It's caved in.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
Bad time for anyone involved. Everyone goes up to gather at the mine to see if they can help, and
everyone's freaking out.
Freaking out.
Looks like a bad, way worse than the other one with the son died.
Oh yeah, so people are coming out, and they're kind of like, all the families are there, and like, yep, you go there, you go there.
Yeah.
And the mother, it just keeps cutting back to the mother, and she's standing there waiting for her husband to come out, which is he's the father of all of the sons, and the last elevator comes up, and It's empty.
He's not on it.
He's not on
And
it.
we're thinking, and you see the wife, and she looks dejected, and you're thinking, okay, he's actually dead here. So the preacher and the sister's shown up too, and they sort of see each other, they lock eyes, and you can see they're just infatuated with each other, and that kind of is important to close out that scene part where they still want to be together, and maybe they do. It's never resolved. Anyway, the preacher though says, "Who's going to come down with me and find the Morgan father?" Right?
Yeah.
And which is great because the boxer guy that taught that little boy to box and who beat up the teacher, I don't really understand how it happened, but he's now blind. And and you know, like I'm really sympathetic towards him because he reminded me a lot of you. He was big and burly and blind. It was like a little Barrett.
You're an asshole.
And they've had to guide him to the shaft. And he's like the most confident one there. And he's like, I know I'm blind. I don't give a shit. I'm going down there. So he goes with the preacher along with a few others. He was the first one to put up his hand, to go down the shaft to find the Morgan dad. So they go down there. And pretty cool scene, actually. I thought the highlight of the movie was this, you know, shaft had caved in. It's flooded. Like, it looked pretty cool. That's it.
Oh, yeah. That's where the rest of their money went after they built a mountain.
I believe it. So
On the north or east or west coast, depending on where you're standing.
Exactly. And the son, the boy's down there with him. So it's the preacher, the boy, the blind boxer, and a few other yobbos. And they eventually find the Morgan father. He's pinned under some big rock and moments away from death. Has time just to hug the youngest son, the boy, before he dies.
Yeah. So the father's dead.
Yeah.
That's the last of my notes.
Oh. Well, look, that's really the end of the movie, pretty much.
I've got two more facts to weave in. Fact number 4. 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. How? Fact number 5. How did this win Best Picture?
Well, not just Best Picture. It was nominated for 10 Academy Awards and won 5. And I saw as well that it beat a movie called Citizen Kane, which is pretty renowned as being like one of the best movies ever. I haven't watched it, but we won't get to either because it didn't win Best Picture. This movie did.
Yeah.
But end of the movie, I think that was really it, right? So the dad's now dead. It kind of cuts to a lot of scenes of him reminiscing on the good old days when the whole family was together. And that was kind of it, right?
Yes. What
It sounds like a sad ending, but it was more like
closure.
it was a closer. It was more like a somber ending because I guess it was trying to say, well, you know, this is the journey of one family, but that was like, you know, a lot of families at that time.
Yeah, I think that's probably why it did so well because it probably hit home for a lot of people who
Yeah,
had.
like an average family.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, hopefully a lot of families don't have lots of family members die, but yeah, it was kind of just a somber closeout.
And I believe that's why the next movie won as well. Just to put a spoiler in. The next one is. It's
Okay,
bad.
look, okay, but let's get into it, right? I feel like we've got a bit of time. So I know, okay, it was a bit boring, especially the last half an hour was a real slog. I think if you shave 20 minutes off this movie, it actually would make it a fair bit better.
Do you know it was turned into a 20 or 30-minute radio show
Yeah,
later on?
that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Look, I guess I actually kind of liked the opening half an hour too because I was like, oh, I get this small mining town. Like it reminded me of my childhood, and I was like, I get all this.
Yeah, you kept referring to the boy
unions
as
and the
you.
strikes. I get it.
You said, "There's Dad."
100%. Like a lot of that, I could, you know, really appreciate, and I could like link my own background to. I'm thinking, oh, cool, great. And then it just kind of got too long, and you know, just dragged a bunch of random stuff out for way too long. But I actually didn't think it was terrible. I just think it was just a little bit meh.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap this up early and go into ratings.
Yeah, unless you have anything else.
We got.
Okay.
We're gonna be like 45, 50 minutes by the
And
time
that's what this movie deserves, right? The last thing we're going to do is drag it out for another 20 minutes like the movie did. But look, no, look, I think look, the acting I thought was good.
Yes.
All the actors were pretty good, actually.
Ooh, the cinematography, fantastic.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Some of the
Crystal-
sets and the coal mine I thought were really good.
Crystal clear filming. every man in the film looked exactly the same. So there was that problem. We spent a fair bit of time trying to work out who was who.
A few unresolved storylines, I guess, in some ways. That was annoying. I thought, the overall story was decent. Just lacks some pizzazz, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like good characters, decent story. Say that again. Just lacked some excitement.
I'm dying to know how many Alexes out of Alex. Oh, you're thinking about this on the spot. I've never seen you do this before.
No, because
I'll write mine down because I'm going to... I know what I'm giving the movie.
I guess because I settled on, for the longest part, 1.5. But then, looking back on it now, I'm kind of already looking back on it with an optimistic viewpoint. And maybe it's because I'm coming from a point of view where I'm like, I can resonate with the characters and sympathize with them.
You've seen the whole picture now.
2 stars. I'm going to give it a 2.
I also gave it a 2.
Oh, there you go. I thought you were going to give it a lot less.
No, you can have a 2.
Nice. Like,
I think it got a pity point.
A pity point. I think it was okay.
Do you know what I think this movie was?
What? A 3.6 rocket?
This is a weird thing to describe, but people that grew up in the 90s will know, especially teenage boys that grew up in the 90s. When you were Googling a risque image on the internet and the images used to load line by line, and as the image...
Was that like the noughties by then?
As the image...
I don't think it was the 90s.
As the image loaded line by line, you were like, get excited because, she's got a pretty face, or he or she has a pretty face, depending on your preference. And then it would either go south or north from there.
It's just, it was.
That's what this movie was.
Just okay everywhere. There were parts that really stood out, but more parts that were just really meh. It was just bland.
Yeah.
But there were parts that were really good. Should it have been Best Picture? Well, we'd have to watch all the other movies from that year to really be the judge. But I already start to feel like there's a few movies in this year, and then, like I mentioned, Citizen Kane. I think last year, the movie that we reviewed, in the same year, Third Dictator.
Yeah,
it was a movie that came out that I haven't watched, but I've seen segments out of. It's got Charlie Chaplin in it. It's one of his movies.
Yeah.
And I've heard that should have won. So I'm really starting to get the vibe now. We're entering the zone of contention where people are arguing which movie should have won. And I feel like, well, because I know there's all this, cheekery and fuckery that goes on with the movies that win Best Picture. I'm like, well, is there politics and other stuff getting in the way? Should that movie have won? Should that movie? How are they deciding this? We haven't even captured this on the podcast. How do they decide? Who decides which movie wins Best Picture? Who is it? Who?
We don't ask those questions. We're the worst critics.
We should find out.
We just play dumb.
Because now we're entering a zone where I feel like there's other movies we should be watching and reviewing that should have won, but haven't. And I want to know, how does the selection process work? Who reviews it? Who chooses?
I also have something else to bring up with you.
Oh.
On the side, because you're rambling.
Oh, okay.
Have you done your research yet to get us all the scores so I can do the top 10 of the 20/30s?
I'm very busy.
You don't have a job.
In some ways I do.
I am not making the people listen to another 10 minutes of you dribble.
No, look, that's it. I vented. I do think I'm actually going to do some homework and find out how the rating, scoring, review system works, who gets selected. I think that's important. I think at this point we should probably work it out and share it with our listeners. I'm going to do that. I'm going to commit to that next episode. I'll share that quickly. Yep, I'll do that. Yeah, 100%.
Because in episode maybe 2 or 3, you made a commitment to... And then the next episode, I had it written down because it was a commitment. And I was like, what about this? And you're like, don't worry about that.
Well, you know enough about me, Barrett, to know that me and commitment don't go hand in hand.
Oh, man. I can't fill the people in on what that means. Yeah, I've been banned.
You know what I'm saying.
You made a blind joke. No, screw you.
No. And we're finishing here. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
You're cutting that.